Hello and welcome to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2, and we have an exciting show for you today. We just listened to Feel It by David, and Adrian Alzamora is here again for the show. It was an amazing time the first time he was on the show, so Adrian, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Carter. I'm glad to be back, and it's been a while. Last time we talked, it was right before the Super Bowl, and it's been a few months since then, but
yes,
I think we've talked, and we still kept in contact, and we were actually on a Romulo show as well. So
yes, we were.
Yeah.
The Gladiators of the Pitch. Make sure to
Yes.
check that out here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. We're going to take a 1-minute break, and today we're going to go into the NFL, NBA, and world football news. We're going to start with the NFL. We're going to start with Deebo Samuel for the 49ers. He was traded. So we're going to start with that news here in just a minute. Hello and welcome back to Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. We're going to be starting off with our NFL rumors here on Catching Up with Carter. Again, I am joined by Adrian Alzamora, who hasn't been on the show for a while, but I'm glad to have him back here. And we're going to start off with Deebo Samuel and 49ers. As people know from if you listened to my show last semester and the start of this semester, I'm a huge 49ers fan, and Deebo Samuel, he's been officially traded. He's officially not a 49er anymore. His 6-year run with the 49ers is done, and it's really sad to see for myself. Watched him in the NFC Championship actually live. I went to the NFC Championship. I'm almost emotional a little bit about it. Obviously, I'm sad that he's leaving or that he's done, but it makes sense. The 49ers, he was not good for them this last year. It ended up that they traded Deebo Samuel for only a 5th-round pick. A lot of people were comparing this to just a bag of chips. They're like, basically, you traded him away for nothing for a bag of chips. So it's kind of a sad moment for a 49ers fan myself, but at the same time, it makes sense. He did not have a great season, and it ended up that, he's going to a better team. So he's going to the Commanders. So, Adrian, I want to get your thoughts on this.
He's pretty young, right? He's only like 30 years old.
Yeah, he's a younger player. He's just been in a little bit of a tough slump. As you could probably say. He had a tough year this last year. He played really well kind of, at the end of the year,
played at the Super Bowl 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, he was an integral part of the team to get there. He played an amazing part to get to the Super Bowl. There was a game, I still remember it to this day. I was actually at a Rams game with my family, and I had my phone out, and I was watching, it was the Eagles 49ers. He scored, I think it was 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns.
You were watching a football game while at a football game?
I know, Adrian. I was watching a football game at a football game. But it's still fun to see, obviously, to see the Niners win. My parents wanted to go to the Rams game, so that's why.
So
we
went
were
with
there.
them for
so
that.
I went with them for that.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so watching Deebo Samuel play, so fun to watch him play. But he was this year. There was a lot of things going on. He had a tweet that went out, and he was like, "I want more targets." He's like, "This is the reason we're losing. It's because I'm not getting as many targets." And he started getting targets, and he just dropped the ball. He wasn't playing well. He was not himself. So it makes sense that he's gone. But I'm just really sad.
Do you think that when these players get traded, and they start doing better, do you think it was maybe the team?
I think it could be the team. I really don't think it is for Deebo Samuel, though. For this structure, it was kind of meant for him, in my opinion, because he's a wide receiver that also plays running back. They called him a wide back, and so that was like they even made a new position for this guy. He played an amazing role for the Niners, and I don't think it was really, the team, in my opinion. Obviously, they brought in Christian McCaffrey, which is like the best talent, in my opinion, for a running back. Obviously, Saquon Barkley can be a conversation about it, but Christian McCaffrey, he's an amazing talent sitting in the backfield. So maybe that was a reason. This year, he kind of felt there was a little bit more workload on him because Christian McCaffrey was hurt basically all season. So a lot of people were like, okay, Deebo Samuel, you got to step it up. And he didn't. He never stepped it up this year. And that was one of the main reasons. They're like, yeah, you're gone. Like, we're going to trade you away. And I saw the rumors even before this happened. I think it was a year or two ago. He even had like a whole thing where he got rid of all the 49ers stuff off his Instagram page and was like, I'm done.
He was ready. He was ready.
He was already ready. Like, this was before he got a new contract
Yeah.
with the 49ers. So it's basically he's done. And it was, it's a tough look as a 49ers fan, because I love the guy. I miss him. But at the same time, it makes sense from the 49ers perspective. Now I want to go to another receiver, and it's Davante Adams. And it ends up, Davante Adams, he was traded from the Raiders to the Jets this season. He went to go play with his other former teammate, because he was traded to the Raiders to play for Derek Carr, with Derek Carr over there, and played at Fresno State. But then ended up he wanted to go play for his teammate who got traded to the Jets, because he was, part of the Packers. So a lot of changes for Davante Adams, and it didn't really work out for him. And the Jets, they're taking calls to try to basically get rid of this guy and try to get him off their hands, because it says Adams is under contract through the 2026 season, but carries an expensive $38.34 million cap hit, which could be more than the Jets are willing to pay for him. So they're trying to get rid of him. Like, okay, let's trade him away. And I'm kind of interested. I know we talked a little bit before the show, Davante Adams, him being traded from these different teams and going to different teams. We talked about how teams is a big aspect.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this, Davante Adams?
I mean, I'm not a crazy football fanatic as you are, but I mean, comparing it to soccer, and we'll talk about it like this. I think when players get traded or they leave, two things can happen. Either their performance gets much better and people start wondering, was it the team, or they decline. And sometimes, if it's a rival, like, I mean, I don't know how much of a rival it is, but like a Raiders versus like a Rams, like if someone got traded from there to there, let's say, wouldn't someone from the Rams feel betrayed? Like, I'm going to compare this like another thing in baseball. Mm-hmm. Shohei Ohtani. You went from the Angels
to
the Dodgers.
Yes.
Like, as an Angels fan, you would feel betrayed. So I'm curious, do you feel betrayed with any of these trades that are funny, no pun intended, but do you feel betrayed with any of these trades or any of these swaps that are going on?
The Davante Adams trade, I don't feel super, at this point it's not official. We don't have any official news on if he's traded to somewhere or if he's not traded. So I don't really know. We don't know that yet. But I did kind of feel, when he left to go to the Raiders and left the Packers and basically left Aaron Rodgers, I did feel kind of like, okay, even though I'm not a huge Packers fan, I was like, okay, this guy just dipped on him, right? Like, he's just dipping to go play with his former teammate. So I feel that same way. Deebo Samuel, not as, I'm sad that he left, but I'm not super mad in the sense that Davante's leaving, because the Jets, it's a good on their money perspective. From a money perspective, they don't have a lot of it because they paid for a lot of different players. They paid Rodgers, and later I think we're going to talk a little bit, because Aaron Rodgers, he's out basically. He's done as well, and he's going to be traded somewhere. So a lot of talk going on. We could see maybe them teaming up again, like Aaron Rodgers going somewhere and then Davante Adams going and following him along. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
I'm going to be honest. The only reason I know Aaron Rodgers is from this promo that he did a while ago, where he was working at a gym, and they wanted to see if people would recognize him. And I
didn't see this.
Yeah,
what was it about?
He was just like a clerk when you walk into a gym, and they're like, hey, have a good workout, just sign in and stuff. And the girl was like, "Are you Aaron Rodgers?"
Oh, I think I did see this.
And he's like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Oh, because he's really hot." And he's like, "Well, that's your opinion."
Opinionated. No, a lot of people know I'm actually from the discount double check from State Farm. So that was kind of another thing with not Davante Adams, but with Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, I don't see it as much for Davante Adams. It makes sense that he's leaving. I understand why he would leave, and yeah, it makes total sense for the Jets and for him. Now, going to a player that maybe it doesn't make so much sense is Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, it says right now that the Patriots, they're eyeing down Chris Godwin as they basically are trying to make a push for a talented veteran wide receiver this offseason. Godwin, he's only 29 years old. He's a younger receiver. He's been a staple of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense since he was drafted in 2017. He recorded 1,000 or more receiving yards 4 times in his career, most recently in 2023. And he was on pace for a career high in receiving yards and touchdowns in 2024, so he was playing amazing, and then he got hurt. So his left ankle, he dislocated it, and it ended his season. So the Patriots, they're not a great roster, I would say, right now. Drake May, he's a rookie quarterback, he's young, needs some veteran talent around him. Is Chris Godwin a good fit for this team? What are you thinking, Adrian?
Well, I was looking at it. I was actually reading an article about it, and it said that he's a complicated case to the Buccaneers. So it's interesting to think about if he does leave. But I think if they need more veteran players, if they need like a different structure for the team, like restructure it. Have the Bucs been to the Super Bowl ever?
So they did with Tom Brady. So they were there with Tom Brady. They beat Mahomes, but they haven't been back really without Tom or any other talent. They had a really good defensive run back. I believe it was in the 90s or the early 2000s with John Gruden, who was coaching. Who we talked about the Raiders. He was a Raiders coach and jumped ship from them to go to Tampa, and tons of things going on with them. But Tampa really hasn't been super great. They've been good these past few years. I mean, Baker Mayfield's been able to do a good job with the roster he's had. Mike Evans, of course, is an amazing talent. Bucky Irving's a great talent. And, of course, Chris Godwin. He's one of the main pieces, and their defense has always been their highlight. But Chris Godwin, if they lose him, that's a big loss. That's a huge loss if they lose him, because Mike Evans is getting older in age. He's almost, I think, he tied Jerry Rice's record for 1,000-yard plus seasons I think it was 9 seasons in a row. So Mike Evans is the main guy, but Chris Godwin allows him to be that main guy because he spreads the field. I think it's the same if we're looking at in the soccer aspect. If you have all this heavy talent, it's able to spread the ball around and able to get more goal scoring opportunities. It's the same in football, right? Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, they're able to spread the field. And that's one of the main reasons I'm sad to see Chris Godwin leave. It's the same. This is almost the one that I'd be the most, Chris Godwin leaving from Tampa Bay. Not betrayed, but more like, I think Tampa Bay has built something pretty decent with Chris Godwin, with Mike Evans, with Baker Mayfield, this young, talented team. If he leaves to go to the Patriots, it's like, okay, no one really has done well dipping to the Patriots, and the Patriots are not a good team.
There was an ESPN article that said that they're optimistic about the deal getting made with Godwin. Like
for Tampa Bay,
yes, they're very, very certain about it.
I'm happy that's news, right? That they're able to kind of figure this out. And I'm hoping that it does happen, but we've seen this over and over again. I've seen it with Deebo Samuel, for example. There was the whole talk about, he requested a trade the last time, and then he was signed, and it was all good. We were all fine. Niners fans were happy. And now, the whole thought, it was, he requested a trade, and he was traded. Which obviously this time, okay, the second time's basically a charm at that point. Second time you ask, you're going to get traded. But it's the same with Chris Godwin. He really hasn't asked for a trade. But it's like, okay, he's gonna be traded.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say because obviously getting a deal done is most likely. But I just could see it. It's like it's more news, right?
Yeah.
It's more buzz. And for the Patriots, they need a veteran wide receiver. Maybe they go for Davante Adams. We talk about him. We don't know where he's gonna fall and where he's gonna go. But yeah. But going to someone who we know is staying. We're going to go to Matthew Stafford because Matthew Stafford, we talked about the Rams. Rams and Matthew Stafford have agreed to a restructured contract that keeps the quarterback in Los Angeles, the team announced Friday. The adjusted contract came from after the Rams gave Stafford's agent, Jimmy Sexton, permission to speak to other teams about his value in the quarterback market. After discussions with the Raiders and Giants about contract parameters, Stafford and the Rams were able to come to an agreement on a reworked deal. I laugh at this. I laugh at this news because, Stafford, he's like, okay, hey, maybe I can get some more money or maybe I can go play for someone else. And he goes talks with these two teams, like the Giants and the Raiders, which are both horrible teams. And he's like, nope, let's stay with the Rams and stay with a structured team.
Well, another thing that I was also reading about is, Nevada. There's the state taxes.
Yes.
So in Nevada, the state tax is 0%. But in California, he pays 13.
That is true.
So,
that is true.
There's a lot issue of money too. So, I mean, I know it's hard to say like, oh, do players play because they want money or do players play because they like to play? But I think it's a mix of both.
It's definitely a mix.
But I think it's complicated. What is it, like a $40 million payroll check? What is it? What are they paying?
It's ridiculous, the amount of money these players are paid. I think right now Stafford isn't paid as much as he wants. He wanted $50 million, and so I think this restructured deal, he's like, okay, I could get $50 million probably to go play for the Raiders or Giants, but I'd have no chance at making it at all in the playoffs or in anything, right? It would kind of ruin his basically his reputation as a player. And so Stafford, I'm happy to see him staying because even as a Niners fan, I love Matthew Stafford. I love the guy. I loved him when he played in Detroit, and then he came to the Rams. And obviously, I didn't like when he beat us in the NFC Championship, but I did like seeing him win the Super Bowl, being able to see Cooper Kupp win the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about Cooper Kupp in a second, but no, it's Matthew Stafford. I get, property tax, all that, but he's moved his whole family here all the way to LA and came from Detroit and a different situation, and being able to kind of settle down in an area and kind of saying, okay, I've got a good team around me. This year they made it all the way to play the Eagles in late in the playoffs and ended up losing that game, but they played a good game even in the snow as an LA team, and they played pretty well. So yeah, I'm happy that Matthew Stafford stayed. I'm happy he's staying. But at the same time, if he left, I would be way happier because the 49ers would have an easier way going around playing against the Rams. But it's good for football. Yeah. In my opinion, it's good for football. Now, going into another Rams teammate is Cooper Kupp. It says right now that he may be staying. There's a lot of talk about him being released. There was a whole Instagram post about him being released. And it says right here that Los Angeles Rams head coach Sean McVay didn't completely close the door on Cooper Kupp staying with the team for the 2025 season. McVay told reporters that I would never speak in absolutes when asked if a return for Kupp was completely out of the question, via Gary Klein of the Los Angeles Times. McVay also called the team's choice to seek a trade for the veteran wide receiver the hardest decision he's made as head coach, per The Athletic's Jordan Rodriguez. On February 3rd, Kupp revealed on social media that the Rams informed him they were putting him on the trade market, so more trades looking to happen, but looks like he's not speaking in absolutes, as the coach said, so maybe he's coming back.
So in this case, is he asking for a trade, or is the Rams just saying like they're going to trade?
The Rams, Cooper Kupp wanted to stay.
He wanted
to stay, and the Rams are like, you got some money, it's a lot of money to pay you, and we could get a decent haul for you. And Puka Nacua, who's their other wide receiver, kind of talking about the whole Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Puka Nacua has been their main target these past few years when he got drafted for basically 2 years in a row, and Cooper Kupp has kind of been in like the back seat, and he's not been playing as great. So they're like, okay, hey, this is a perfect time to trade him, get some good money for him. So that's one of the major reasons that they're trying to trade him. But yes, it was from the front office perspective, not Cooper Kupp. It was not him going, I want to be traded. It was the front office.
And does that kind of hurt the player when he's like, yeah,
of course. And even in his Instagram post, it was a sad one to read.
Oh,
he was not happy about it. He's like, I wanted to stay here my whole career, and it was sad. And it almost gave me like goosebumps reading it. I'm like, this guy, he wanted to stay there. He was drafted there. Not great when he was first drafted there. He grew up, being a Ram the whole time.
How long has he worked with the Rams?
He's been with the Rams for a while. I don't know the exact amount of years, but it's been a decent amount. I believe it's over 7 to 8 years.
Because I may not know what they're going through, but I feel like that would just break me. Like if it's like a team that I've been wanting to be with, I thought I would be there with my whole life. I haven't seen the Instagram post, but just seeing that, I would feel immensely betrayed.
He did feel betrayed
and hurt, and I guess there's that sense of maybe payback, like if he goes to another team
and plays
them, maybe in a Super Bowl one day, and it's like, oh yeah, that's what you get. Like, you lost me. You could have won this with me, but no.
No, it's definitely a sad look for them, but at the same time, as we read, Sean McVay, their head coach, said it was the hardest decision he's made. So it's a hard decision to make, but again, he said he's never going to speak in absolutes, so maybe we could see a return if they're not able to get a good return for him. Like perhaps they go to the Giants or they go to a team like that and they're like, oh, we're not going to give you that much money or not going to give you that many picks or that many players, then maybe he'll stay. And I'm hoping he does stay. Even, again, as a Niners fan, looking at the Rams, I'm happy with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Matthew Stafford because it's the best football to watch around here. If I'm going to watch at SoFi Stadium, I love watching Matthew Stafford and these two players play. It's just, it's fun to see.
And SoFi has such a great environment and vibe there. Whatever you're watching, whether it's a concert or another type of sporting event, like SoFi it brings together so many people. So
it does.
I really know, I've never seen him play, but I know when you say so, like you go to SoFi to see these things, like I get that because there's a whole different emotion when you're
And
there.
it's different emotions because Cooper Kupp was such an integral part of their Super Bowl winning season. They won the Super Bowl, in my opinion, because of him. He got the game-winning touchdown catch. Like, he was the guy. And that was before Puka Nacua was drafted, before all of this. And it's like, seeing the old man, falling down, right? It's a little bit like that. I think it's a little bit different because he's still younger. He's not super old, but he's not super young. He's kind of in that middle part of his career, so he's got to kind of choose. Is he going to go somewhere? I was looking, now that we traded Deebo Samuel, Niners, go ahead and make an offer. In my opinion, make an offer for Cooper Kupp. Even though they're in the same division, they're rivals, I don't think it'll happen ever. But if we give the best offer, I would say, maybe we could get Cooper Kupp on the roster.
He stays in California, too?
Yep, stays in California, goes to a team, and that would be exciting because that's a rivalry.
That would be nice.
Niners, Rams, they play twice a year minimum, and they played multiple times. They played 3 times a year. They play, twice in the season, one in the Rams, one in San Francisco, and then sometimes in the playoffs. And I've watched those playoff games, and sad moments, good moments, obviously, in both ways. But Cooper Kupp being able to play for the Niners and going back to play against the Rams would be a really exciting thing to see. Now, we're going to move into the NBA. We went over all of the NFL news that we kind of wanted to talk about, a lot of wide receiver news, a lot of different trades that were going on. And we're going to start off with the NBA news and Joel Embiid. We're going to start with him because the 76ers, it looks like they basically got fleeced on Joel Embiid. It says Embiid, he underwent surgery on a torn meniscus on his left knee in February 2024. It's awful, awful injury. But ended up 4 months later, he joined Team USA to play in Paris, and they won the gold.
Yeah.
He scored 4 points only from the foul line during that time. He's a good part of the team. Obviously, he wasn't like a Steph Curry scoring 30 a night, but he was definitely a good part of it. And right after that, 1 month and 1 week later after the Olympics happened, there was a 3-year, $193 million deal, which does not kick in until next season that they signed. So his deal was still going on, and he was like, okay, let's sign the next one, right? Sign in the next contract. Includes a player option for the 2028-2029 campaign. And only about a month after that photo was taken, Embiid's knee issues began making headlines once more. Embiid was sidelined for the preseason. Then the beginning of the regular season, he made his season debut on November 12th, only to miss 8 of the Sixers' next 11 games.
Oh my
So he's been injured basically all year long, and he's just not been able to play as good as he's been able to. And this injury, it's looking like, okay, Embiid's got this contract in right before, hey, I'm injured. Can't play anymore, right? So what's your thoughts on this?
This reminds me of Neymar a lot. Because Neymar was playing in the Saudi League, and he was getting paid some ridiculous amount of money. He won with them. He only played like 4 matches.
4 matches? That's
yes,
it?
in the year and a half that he was
insane.
there, and he got so much money, and then he is made of glass. And I don't know if Embiid is made of glass.
Embiid is made of glass. Yes, that is the exact definition of Embiid.
It's hard because these players are so talented, and it's so sad to see a prince that never became king.
Yep.
If that makes sense. So I see the comparison there, and it's really sad to see. Like, I don't think he'll. Do you think he'll play in the Olympics in 2028, or do you think he's done?
He's an older player, so I don't know if he'll play. He could play in the Olympics in 2028. I don't know if he'll play very well if he did. I think the biggest thing is he going to return for the Sixers?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And he's the Sixers are one of those talents that could make it they are a talent that could make it to the finals.
Yeah.
If they really got a good run going, they could. But Joel Embiid being injured, that's their main guy, right? Like that's losing your Neymar. That's losing your Messi. That's losing your LeBron for your team.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's tough to look. It's a tough look for Joel Embiid, and it's a tough look for the Sixers. I don't think they're really going to be able to do anything else. They're kind of stuck with this, and they're stuck with this contract, and they're going to have to pay him anyway. I mean, he's still there, and there really is no stipulations in that contract for pay based off of time. So based off time played. So they're still going to have to pay him, even without it. And so it's a tough look for Joel Embiid. It's a tough look for the Sixers. It's a tough look basically all around.
And then, I mentioned, he's from Cameroon, right? Mm-hmm. He plays for Team USA, and I actually was going to ask you really quickly, like, do you think when players, especially NBA players, like if they're from a different national origin, do you think that they should stick with Team USA or they go to their native country and play for them?
That is an interesting question. It's a very interesting question, which I'm going to have to answer after our break. We're going to take a break,
good.
and then we're going to come back and answer that question because, we're going to talk about Luka Doncic a little bit and talk about how obviously he's not playing for Team USA, plays for someone else. And so we'll talk about that right after a minute break here on Catching Up with Carter here on Jazz 88.5 HD2. Catching Up with Carter. Hello and welcome back to Saddleback College Radio 88.5 HD2. When we were talking right before the break, me and Adrian Alzamora, all about the NBA, and he had a question for me about all of basically these players playing in the Olympics. We were talking about the Olympics, talking about Joel Embiid, and now he's not from the U.S. and he's playing with basically the Team USA, even though he wasn't from there originally. And so I'm going to answer your question basically right away, and I think it basically just depends on your choice as a player. I think it depends on where, I believe it's basically where you grew up. I think if you were born in the U.S. and you are a U.S. citizen, I feel like, go play for Team USA. If you grew up somewhere else for the majority of your childhood or maybe, moved there a little bit earlier or later, I don't know, basically your life. But, you can basically choose. It's based off lineage, obviously. So it really doesn't really matter, in my opinion. I think it also depends on if you want to start. That's a big thing.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to start for the Olympics team, there's a guy, Derek Brooks, who's for Canada. His parents, are from Canada, but he's basically lived in the U.S. for a long time, and he could have probably played for Team USA if he wanted to. But he's playing on the Canadian team. Same with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's a great talent, one of the best talents in the NBA, and he's playing for Team USA.
And like Luka Doncic,
Team Canada. Sorry, go ahead.
Luka Doncic, he's playing for the Slovenian team, right? So. Do you think the Team USA will be like, oh no, come back, help us win,
It's almost
because he's a great player.
He is a great player. He's an awesome player. But it's almost like I watched, and you should watch the show. It's on Netflix. It's called Court of Gold. I can't say words. Court of Gold. There you go. Court of Gold. So Court of Gold is one of the best shows I've watched. One of the best documentaries. It was kind of like the Redeem Team. So the Court of Gold was that Redeem Team, and so Court of Gold was all about this team, USA, and all of the other teams in the Olympics. It was based off the Olympic Productions team. They did that whole entire production, and it was really cool to watch because you could see the bond even for the teams that aren't Team USA. And you could see how they built their teams. For example, I watched a lot of Serbia because Serbia, they've got Nikola Jokic, basically the reigning MVP, or not, was he the MVP? I'm trying to remember. I believe he was the MVP. And reigning MVP, and he plays for Serbia. He doesn't play for the U.S., and he's one of the best talents, in my opinion, for the NBA, and he really leads that team. He is the leader. Same with even Victor Wembanyama, who he played for France, one of the best leaders, a great leader for his team, and if they lose that, it's like, okay, who else is there? There isn't that talent. I think it's almost better. It's better to watch. It's better for me as someone who likes sports broadcast. It's awesome to see these amazing teams play against each other. It's not like, okay, Team USA is going to win 55, 100 points to nothing, right? It's a close game.
That's why I like
close.
International sports a lot, is because of taking all these players from around the world, and maybe they play on one team, but when you put them into their national team, it's like, it's like. How do I explain this? Like you're sprinkling gold almost on all these teams.
On all the other teams, right?
Yeah, and seeing that grow and then come together into this match, it's super unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen.
No, you don't know what's going to happen. And it makes it so exciting.
Absolutely.
To watch for the Olympics, and being able to see teams like Team Canada, Team Serbia, Team France put up good numbers and play really well against Team USA is the reason people watch the Olympics. And that's the reason we like watching the Olympics. And so I think taking that away would be almost sad. We're not saying the same, they're going to take it away.
Yeah.
But, these players that want to go play for their home country, that maybe a parent, was from there. Go and compete for that country.
I would
it's
say
from your lineage. Go ahead and do it. Now we're going to go into Luka, because we're talking about Luka Doncic and how he's playing for a different team than Team USA. But we're going to be talking about how, he went from the Mavericks over to the Lakers. Now, there was some news, a rumor that was going around. Nico Harrison, who is the GM for the Dallas Mavericks, he was eyeing Anthony Edwards, who was a talent for Team USA this last year, a great talent over for the Timberwolves. He was eyeing him before the Luka trade was officially done. It says Dallas Mavericks ultimately traded the face of their their franchise for Los Angeles Lakers Anthony Davis, but the team reportedly first sought a younger star, which was Anthony Edwards. So a different Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, and it says that Nico Harrison initially reached out to the Minnesota Timberwolves about a trade for Anthony Edwards. He was promptly told no. Basically just said no. Like, no, you're not going to get this guy. The Timberwolves league sources say were stunned that Dallas was contemplating parting ways with Doncic, which everybody was kind of like, why did you leave? Like, let him go. Yeah. But, they're trying to get a different player. Anthony Edwards is one of the youngest stars in the game. He's been compared to Michael Jordan already. He's been compared to being the face of the league when LeBron is gone. So what's your thoughts on this, Adrian?
You mentioned the face of LeBron. I mean, we'll get into that later, but
yes.
All these switches around, like Luka Doncic going to the Lakers, like do you think that they're doing good? Because they played against the Mavericks.
They've been playing pretty much 100 times better.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is their chance to go and win a championship.
What was that one score? There was one match I didn't watch it fully, but I watched a little bit of it.
Was it the Mavericks
107-99.
Yeah. That
was a good match.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it. LeBron being LeBron as always.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Lakers are doing great. I think the Mavericks, I mean, from what I can tell, have they been going down in their play?
So immediately after the trade happened, Anthony Davis got injured. So he immediately got injured. He was playing amazing. I think he had 20-plus points at halftime. He got injured, was not there anymore. He was done. So he couldn't play after that. And Kyrie Irving's basically trying to carry the team. It's crazy because there was a whole news about Kyrie Irving. He's been teammates with LeBron. He was teammates with Luka, and they played against each other. Luka was on the side of LeBron, and so LeBron's always had a guy in his corner, it almost feels like, and that's what a lot of people are talking about. When this trade happened, they're like, okay, he needs more talent to win a championship, and that's the whole argument for the Jordan debate. But moving away from that, getting off topic, I still think LeBron's the GOAT, but whatever. LeBron, having that back pocket guy, having Luka Doncic back there, and Kyrie's never really had that. So Kyrie Irving's kind of he's the scapegoat at this point. He's just like sitting there as like, Mavericks, we're not doing well, but it's not really my fault, but it is my fault because that's who's going to be blamed at this point. And it's sad to say, Nico Harrison, a lot of people are saying he's going to need some more security guards because of him trading away Luka. It's sad to say that a little bit, but at the same time, Luka, this whole trade debacle and him, maybe getting Anthony Edwards would have been a better trade, of course. But, of course, the Timberwolves, they've got this guy, Anthony Edwards, who's so good. It's like, no way I'm going to trade away Anthony Edwards for this other guy who is not part of our system. And that's the biggest thing. We talked about teams a lot today. Yeah. That system is what matters. It's really, really what matters.
Do you think, I don't want to go off topic here, but Thierry Henry mentions a lot, like when you go into a new team, you don't go in saying, hey, I'm the best because they just chose me to be part of this team. No, you have to prove yourself because the team already functions without you.
Yeah.
So you have to walk in and you have to be humble and you have to kind of get used to how they play, the rhythm and how they work and whatnot. And then if you can prove yourself, then you can say, I'm the best.
Luka's one of those guys, though, that I feel like can come in and be like, yeah, I'm the best. Like, I feel like he is one of those guys that can do that. And he kind of did. He's come in, played better than anybody really expected. Obviously, not more than really anybody expected. But he's played just as good as everybody expected. That's what I should have said. He's been playing so well in his first few games with them. Been playing at the top of his game. And, a lot of people were talking about, Luka, LeBron championship. That's a big question. That could happen. And going into now, I'm going to just switch over. I'm going to go to LeBron James because I feel like I've talked about Luka, I think, probably 4 times in this show. You weren't here, but every single time you and Ray are here, we talk about Luka Doncic, and it's every show. So I'm gonna switch gears all the way to LeBron James because we don't talk about him very much. But it says he didn't ask to be the face of the NBA, and he wanted to make it heard. It says, Shane Fry said it, why do you want to be the face of a league when all the people that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis blank on everybody? Or like basically poop on everybody. That's basically what it means, right? So that's what James said. He says when you have that responsibility, that's just weird. It's a weird responsibility. So Adrian, I know going into kind of the soccer aspect a little bit, what's your thought on this? LeBron not wanting to be the face of this league.
I don't understand that. I'm gonna be completely honest because I saw this on the news actually. Why would you not want to be the face of the NBA? You are one of the most popular basketball players of all time. You are extremely popular. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows the name LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've seen a lot of videos, and it's actually kind of depressing, of people kind of trash talking him on the sidelines. They'll buy the super up close tickets, and they'll be like, "Oh, LeBron, you suck," blah 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 blah. And you could see him visibly get hurt with that. And I would think, with his age and how he acts, I would think that he would look past that. But no, I think he does take it a little personally, and I think maybe he also wants to not be the face because his son is coming up, and
That's true.
There's a saying, there's only one man in your life that wants to see you do better than him, and that's a father.
Obviously, him with Bronny, of course, he wants him to succeed.
He wants him to succeed. But then, I've also seen Jimmy Kimmel and his assistant Guillermo. Like he'll go to those conference finals and stuff, and he'll be like, "Hey, LeBron," and he's like, "I don't want to talk to you." Yeah. And then Curry's like, "Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?" and whatnot. All the other players are super friendly, and LeBron's like, "I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you."
Yeah, it's funny. LeBron is one of those guys. He's got that. He's just so good. I don't understand. For myself, looking at it, he's 40 years old. He's averaging 25 a game at 40. That is
insane.
Unheard of for anybody. He's broken all the barriers for how old you basically can be to play. It's kind of the same with Tom Brady, how he broke that barrier. So I kind of get it. As being the face of the NBA has its perks, but it also has its, downfalls, that it's always on you. If the league isn't doing well, because the NBA is not doing well, everybody looks to him. Like, okay, what's going on? LeBron, what's going on? That's the whole thing. That's what a lot of people talk about.
Do you think he's getting ready to, not retire, but do you think when he plans on doing that, he's, saying this so that the emphasis can still be on the NBA?
I think it's like, okay, the face of the NBA needs to go to someone else almost a little bit. Like he's trying to be like, I don't really want it anymore. Let's give it to somebody else. And we talked about a guy who probably could have it, which is Anthony Edwards, or for Luka Doncic. Those guys are the face right now.
Yeah.
Those are younger stars. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Those guys are young stars. The young talent is the reason that people are watching the NBA.
Totally off topic here, really quick question.
Go for it.
Who is the player that's the logo for the NBA?
The logo for the NBA? I actually haven't even. I know his name, but he's not.
I saw something about that, and he actually doesn't like. I saw something like he doesn't like that photo.
I think it's Jerry
something.
West. I think it's Jerry West who has that. He doesn't like that photo.
I saw something about that. Maybe he didn't like it or something.
But he is technically the logo of the NBA.
Yeah, he is the logo.
He is the logo.
Do you think LeBron feels like he had a feeling the way that LeBron is feeling right now?
Like the same, like Jerry West feeling like, why am I the logo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same feeling. But at the same time, LeBron himself, he's kind of almost put himself in this situation.
Yeah.
Right? He came out of high school, playing and playing in the NBA. He's the best, in my opinion, who's played in this generation. He's won championships for 3 different teams. He won for his home team for Cleveland. He won 1 for the Heat. He won 2 with the Heat. He won 1 with the Lakers. So he's made his name known everywhere. In my opinion, he's made his name known everywhere. He could go somewhere else, and if he wins a chip for them, if he wins another chip for the Lakers, that's that's cementing him as probably, in my opinion, the best player of all time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are going to complain, Jordan, 6 rings. Yes. Of course, Jordan, I believe, is the best of his generation.
Yeah.
I think LeBron is the best of his own generation.
Yeah.
So this is all the generation whole thing. Now, going into world football, I want to go into this because this is your forte. Adrian. I want to go into things that, of course, that you know a lot more than I do. And I wanted to start off, I'm going to start off with the second piece of news. I'm going to start off with Messi because it says that he missed out on a match. He played the Houston match, and Miami won anyway. They won 4-1 over Houston. But there was a whole thing about Messi. He did not travel with the team. He did not show up. And, of course, he's older. He's 37 years old. And a lot of this was going on because there's basically Houston had to say, hey, we'll give you a complimentary ticket because he's not showing up. Because everyone was showing up because Messi's gonna be there. He's the face of soccer. Going into the face of soccer, we're talking about the face of the NBA. What's your thought on this?
So, this is not something that is new. A lot of people will buy tickets just to see Messi, whatever. Not even just Inter-Miami, international soccer too. When Messi got injured after Copa America, he didn't play, or I forgot what it was. There was an injury where he just didn't play. And people went to go see the match, and he wasn't there. Or he was there, but he wasn't playing. When the Copa America final happened against Colombia, he got injured and he was crying and whatnot. And a lot of people left. And there's not just that. When he first got signed to Inter Miami, there was a ton of people. When they first put him on, they only put him on for a little bit. And then they took him off. I remember there was a match where they took him off at some time. They substituted him off. People left. People left the stadium, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's insane. But Messi not showing up, I know that's going to upset a lot of people. Me being from Peru, Peru played one of the Peruvian club teams, Universitario. They played against Inter Miami. It was a club friendly, and Messi was supposed to do this meet and greet with people.
Did he not?
No, he didn't.
Oh,
he didn't,
goodness.
and people paid a lot of money
to do that.
Yeah, and then it falls on a little bit of a debate. Is it the organizer's fault? Is it Messi's fault for not wanting to show up? Like, these people paid money, they didn't get their money back. Was it a scam? Did Messi purposely pocket that money? It's a whole ordeal. Messi being 37, though, we got one more year till the World Cup. He does. I've heard. I'm so mixed because I keep hearing things saying that he does want to play and he doesn't want to play. I think he is going to play, and I think they also want to be careful because he's older. He might get injured a little more easier.
He's older, and it's tough when you get older on that in age, right?
Yeah.
LeBron's like one of the only guys that I feel like doesn't really get injured very often. And I think that's because of how he takes care of his body.
Yeah.
37-year-old Messi, that's an older age, and of course, you're gonna have to manage that workload.
Yeah.
Because he's an older talent, and when he's there, this is probably the best team in the MLS. Basically, probably in my opinion, Inter Miami is the best team in the MLS when he is available.
It's
Messi's
so funny
on
because
the
they were like the last and they have a rival, which I actually like their rival, Orlando. Orlando. They are because there's two Peruvian players that play on there actually, and there was actually a Statue of Liberty pose. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I
didn't. They were playing, and then Galese, who's a Peruvian goalkeeper who plays for Orlando. Messi was offside, so they called it, offside.
Yeah.
But he tried to chip the ball over him, and he lifted his arm up like this, and he stopped the ball. And people were like, "Oh, Messi can't play anymore." Like, he just got humbled by the
statue. I saw the meme
Statue
about
of Liberty,
yeah,
kind of thing. But honestly, I'm gonna say this is gonna be a hot take. I don't think people even knew Inter Miami was a thing. Until Messi showed up.
Yep.
I had never even heard of this team.
Do you think I knew what Inter Miami was before Messi showed up? No, because no one did.
And I see these players and they're like, oh yeah, like Messi is the greatest. Oh, I'm an Inter Miami. there's a joke. Oh, no.
I am that person.
Yeah.
I am the Inter Miami fan that's there because Messi showed up.
There's people that say, I was an Inter Miami fan before Messi.
I was there first. I was the OG.
I mean, Messi. He's great. He really brings something to the team, even with the Inter Miami players. He sees a play and he takes it, and he's not selfish about it. Like, he doesn't take the ball away. He doesn't assist, and the players get their names. But it's funny because even watching the broadcast, they don't focus the camera super much on the player.
It's just Messi, right?
They'll focus it if the player runs up to Messi, then they'll cut to him, but they don't stay on the player. They'll play on Messi. He's the most famous. It's insane.
He is. And we talked about even the Instagram post that Messi posted for being at the Super Bowl.
That got the most likes
than the Eagles had for their Super Bowl win. They posted, we're Super Bowl champions. Like 800,000 likes. Messi, I'm at the Super Bowl, 1.6 mil.
It was so funny because there was no caption on that photo either.
Nothing. Just him showing up.
It was just there. It was just a photo of him and blew up.
He is insane. He is probably, and we talked about it, he's probably the go-to sports. I'm going to be honest in that way, right?
Yeah, and there was a really quickly, one last thing I wanted to talk about was Atletico Madrid. They did a little poll. I think their intern was going around the players, and he's like, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? Was it the Chiefs or the Eagles? And they're like, most of them were like, huh? What is that? And then I was actually surprised because a lot of them did know, and they're like, oh yeah, Jalen Hurts is going to win. Oh, let's go Mahomes. Let's go Barkley. Let's go. And he's like, yeah, let's go. And they're like, making jokes and stuff. But it was cool to see that, the two sports, they support each other.
No,
almost.
it is really nice to see Messi showing up. Obviously, there's a lot of celebrities that show up to these events, but it was good to see. I mean, of course, that brings soccer fans to the NFL, or football fans, I should say, to American football. And so it's fun to see these sports, all of the different ones, and it's all of the sports news is always fun to cover. And that's all the time that we actually have here today on Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. Next, we're going to be listening to more David. We're going to listen to Crashing and 2 more songs after that, both by Keshi and David as well. And Adrian, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me back. It's great to be here, and I really enjoy talking with you, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much again, and make sure to check out Gladiators of the Pitch here on Saddleback College Radio as well. That's made by Romulo and Adrian and myself. It's always fun to talk about soccer more because I'm not that big of a soccer guy, so it's good to talk about it, kind of diversifying the sports that I talk about. Go. So again, thank you so much for listening here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2, Catching Up with Carter.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.